Hey everybody, this is IndieGeek, and today I'm taking a look at Kero Blaster. This is the newest game from Studio Pixel, Daisuke Maya, who most people will know from Cave Story. And this is kind of, in a way, it's almost kind of a pseudo-sequel to Cave Story in some ways, and we'll get into that a little bit later. It's available on the Playism store, which I will link to in the description, for $8 for Windows, or you can buy it with the soundtrack for $10, and this is one of those situations where I would absolutely recommend the soundtrack as well, because it's probably one of the best soundtracks in an indie game ever, certainly like the best one this year. I'm going to see if I can start a new save. I did finish that save, as you can see. It took me about 2.5 hours, so it's pretty short, quite a bit shorter actually than Cave Story. It's not my first time. But, okay, so we're going to start off here. We've got Cat and Frog Inc., that's where we work. Obviously we're Kero, who is the frog. So, we work for Cat here, who's kind of freaking out a little bit. She does that. Alright, the president is angry again, huh? Recently we've had nothing but trouble. Must be getting to her. Good luck on the job. So basically what's going to happen is we are going to get transported to various places to kind of take out these kind of creatures that we're going to see, and they're going to become like more and more prominent. First it's going to feel like we're fighting just like normal enemies, but by the end we'll see that everything has kind of been taken over by kind of like these weird black creatures that will eventually take over everything without spoiling too much. Alright, so Kero Blaster is pretty simple, very, very similar to like Cave Story controls. We can jump, we can shoot, obviously. You can probably already assume, based on looking at the bottom of the screen, that the blaster is not going to be our only weapon for the entire game. We will end up with 3 other weapons, and at one point we also get a jetpack as well, which allows some double jumping, so the platforming will get a little bit more tricky later on. And then the other thing that we can do, it's got the kind of the classic Cave Story system that everyone loved. We can certainly upgrade our health, and we'll end up at a store here pretty soon, and I can show off a little bit of that. But yeah, we can certainly upgrade our health, and we can upgrade our weapons as well. And so one thing I ended up doing, actually, and it did kind of pad the time a little bit, I guess, on my other save, is I spent about half an hour, and by the end of the game I did have all of my weapons maxed out. So, like I said, it is not a very long game. That being said, it's probably one of my favorite games of the year so far. I've had a great time with Kero Blaster so far, and I feel like if you liked Cave Story, you will absolutely love Kero Blaster. And I'm doing this like a week or so after it came out, so I'm a little bit late in that regard. Okay, so we do have our first kind of cat and frog story here. So basically we can choose to upgrade weapons, upgrade health. I'm going to upgrade my weapon here. I don't have enough to upgrade health. One thing I could do is I could grind out some enemies here and get some more coins, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. I figure with the weapon upgrade I should be able to take out the first boss alright. As far as like a difficulty curve, it starts off pretty easy. It does have kind of like the kind of a Nintendo style system, and I'm talking like the original Nintendo, where you see we've got 3 lives. If we lose those 3 lives, we have to redo this whole level, which isn't like that big of a hit. You keep your money, you keep whatever upgrades you bought or found, things like that. But you do have to redo from the beginning of the level, whereas if you die, you just have to start over from the beginning of the screen you were on. So, a little bit of a difference there, I guess, in terms of kind of progress barriers, you could say. There are secrets, as you can see. Anyways, so kind of what I was starting to get into a minute ago is I think I'm coming at this from a little bit of a different perspective. I've seen a few reviews from people, and the general opinion from most people seems to be that it's good, but not as good as Cave Story. I actually differ on that. This one drew me in way, way more than Cave Story did. And this is coming from someone who loved Cave Story. I thought Cave Story was great. That being said, I have found this to be even more enjoyable, I think. Which is weird, because normally I'm really into sort of the Metroidvania style gameplay. But I really, really love the way that they did this one. It's linear, but I like it. I think that it really works well for this, and I feel like it comes down to just like pure gameplay at this point, and the gameplay here is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so we'll get to see the first boss here, who hopefully I don't have too much trouble on. I should be alright. I kind of made the mistake the first time of playing this of upgrading my health first, and it turns out that with like the lower level blaster, it was very hard to actually get anything done. Yeah, that was bad. It is whole hearts that you lose, so we don't get like half hearts like Zelda or anything. Let's see, he's going to jump. But, it's almost got like kind of the Dark Souls style thing where a lot of times you're going to lose your first time because you are learning boss patterns, things like that. But most of the time, once you've got the boss patterns down, they're not super hard, unless your weapons aren't maybe as upgraded as they should be. But anyways, I mean, this is the basic gameplay. I probably don't need to say too much more about the gameplay here. I've heard a couple of really good comparisons, because of course, the unfortunate thing is, no matter what you do, you're going to compare this in some way to Cave Story. Because I know people have been waiting a long time for the follow-up to Cave Story, and, well, here it is, and some people really like it, some people don't. I think the best way I heard it put was, a lot of people have been saying that it is kind of the NES to Cave Story's Super Nintendo, and I think that's a pretty apt comparison. So it's going to come down a little bit to what you like. So we can see here that these guys are starting to take over these teleporters a bit, and we'll probably get through one more level here. And you can see our president is looking a little strange from the last time we saw her. Alright, I'm just gonna skip the dialogue for now, hopefully you don't mind. Okay, heart jars are basically like a fairy in Zelda, so like if we lose all of our hearts, it'll refill 4 hearts. So that's that. Alright, and you saw that I got another weapon. I will show off that weapon. Normally the weapons you get work best for like the next area that you're in. So this is like a really good weapon for this zone, but maybe not for other zones, if that makes sense. So it's not like once you get a new weapon, you're done using the old one. And in fact, the final boss was made easiest when you used a variety of all 4 of your weapons. So definitely cool that they keep the weapons kind of relevant. I know I've heard some. Well, now most people seem to really like the way it looks, but I have heard a couple of complaints about the art style, specifically just because it's like mixed pixel sizes. But I think, the person who I heard complaining about that was on Twitter and is an artist, and he had a couple of other pixel artists agree with him, but I think that's kind of a small subset of people. I think for the most part, people tend to like the art. I know I love the art, actually. I'm a big fan of the way that this game looks. I do need to upgrade my health at the next cat and frog shop. Oh, those birds can be a pain. Alright. And then, the other thing, and I kind of started off mentioning it, is the soundtrack is just absolutely fantastic. And I think it's even made like more fantastic by the fact that Daisuke Amaya basically does everything in the game himself. So, you know, he did the art, he did the music, he did the coding. I think the only thing he really got help on was like a little bit of like level design direction from a couple of other people. And I think, oh, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. It is available for iPad, I believe, as well. And that's the other thing that he got help on was some help coding the iPad version. But other than that, it's like a one-man gig, and I believe Cave Story was the same situation. So the fact that like the gameplay is so good, the art looks fantastic, at least in my opinion, and it's got probably the best soundtrack of an indie game this year, or any game for that matter, is just like truly incredible. And I mean, you know, you've heard a couple of samplings of the songs in the game already, and they are all this good, like all the way through the game. Every level's got its own track, and they are all really, really, really good. Like I've just been like blown away by the soundtrack. I mean, I've been blown away by everything in this game, but the soundtrack specifically was really, really good all the way through. But yeah, I mean, like if you couldn't tell, I'm just really, really pleased with the game. It was probably the first time in a long time that I sat down and just played through a game from start to finish. How much does this cost? 30? Sure, I'll do that. And I should still be able to afford a health up. Yep, heart boost. And then the next one is probably really expensive. Yeah, 60. So I don't worry about that for now. So, you know, you can see that, like, there are also some pretty good, like, visual differences. This was actually a spot early game where I grinded a bit to upgrade some weapons. And the nice thing is that that's pretty much all up to you and what you like to do. It's not like you're ever forced to grind. It certainly makes the bosses easier if you've got more upgraded weapons, as you would pretty much expect, but it's not required by any means. I'm sure people have already beaten it with just like beginning weapons. But yeah, I think we'll finish this level off, and then that's where I will end it. But yeah, like I said, just really, really great all around. And it's, you know, it's one of those games that sucks you in, like, and I guess in my opinion, it's something that actually a lot of actual Nintendo games, like from the original Nintendo, not as a company, but like a lot of the original Nintendo games are missing, is kind of that like factor that just gets you started and then playing from start to finish. There aren't that many, in my opinion, Nintendo games that do that and make me want to put up with any frustrating parts, things like that. This game does that. Like, I did not stop once I started until I was absolutely done with the game. And, you know, like I said, that's pretty rare for me at all. But, you know, this is probably the only game this year that's done that. So, yeah, so good. We've got our boss here. This will be cool. So, we actually start off this boss by just fighting a bunch of these little mud guys. And I like the bosses a lot. You know, we will only see 2 of them, but there's a lot of like boss and enemy variety throughout the game. And it does kind of keep you on your toes, because you're always kind of wondering like what's coming next, what you've got to fight next, and how you're going to fight it, what the best weapon will be. Obviously at this point we don't have a whole lot of weapon variety, so it's not that crazy to assume that the weapon that we just got is probably the best one for the job. And that'll do it. Much easier boss than the first level. And then we get our third weapon, which is the bubble. It's kind of a cool one. This one's actually a little bit different from really anything I've seen in games like this. So it kind of bounces a bit really low, but it goes pretty far, and then it also floats over water, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so we will get our reward here, kind of, and then this is probably where I will end this off. Yeah, it's just a little monster in a box. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end off my look at Kero Blaster. Like I said, I've had an absolute blast. I would highly recommend this, especially picking up the soundtrack as well. Because it really is that good. Great gameplay, great audio, great visuals all the way through. And in my opinion, a worthy successor to Cave Story. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it off. So as always, feel free to leave comments if there's anything that you would like to comment about. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos every single day. And if you liked my look at Kero Blaster, then please do consider clicking the like button. But with that being said, I thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.